Today we are going to discuss about the Indian Railway water policy, related issues like your water audit, ETP, and on the the Indian Railway. Hello, may I have a request to please who are means on the this video, then you please unmute or mute yourself so that the one way can be conveyed. Okay. Please mute yourself so that you can hear from my side. Okay, so myself, Dr. Verma, I'm Assistant Professor, Engineering Materials. I did my BE in Metallurgical Engineering from, at that time, it was Regional Engineering College, Jaipur in 1988. Okay, and my first job was in RDSO, and I have been transferred in several times and several places like Bombay, RDSO Bombay, then RCF Kapurthala, and as of now here in IRIMEE Jamalpur as senior scale assistant professor engineering material. Okay, so we are going to discuss about the Indian Railway water policy. But before going to that, what we our objective is to discuss about the sources, the importance of water, how important the water everyone is knowing. Then the earlier management of water, how the management was being arranged, what being means managed in the old days. Then different acts and regulations, scarcity which is coming in the way of the Indian Railway operations. Then the introduction as per United Nations, facts due to this the waterborne problems as per the UNO, then facts as per our जो है national concerns, then the background of Indian Railway water policy. What are those factors which means enabled this Indian Railway to frame a water policy? That is the background behind the water policy to be framed by Indian Railway. Then the full details of the water policy, what has been said in the water policy of Indian Railway, etc. Okay, so those issues will be discussed during this session. Now you can see that the sources of water sources may be divided into two types, that is in two parts. One is surface water, another is underground water. Okay, so this surface water is nothing but all the rivers or the lakes or reservoirs, streams, ponds, etc. are all the surface water resources. Then the groundwater may be available underground, which is not visible to us, but it is available beneath the ground. In terms of open wells or tube wells or infiltration wells, which has been intentionally means the manufactured. Okay, now the you can see what is the surface from where this surface water comes. That is, the rain is the main source of the water. Okay, or you can say the cycle, atmospheric cycle, which creates this rain, is having the uneven distribution of rain all over the world, also in our country. Okay, then as you know that the rainfall in our India is somewhere it is very less as of 100 mm, that is in Rajasthan, particularly the Jaisalmer and the desert area of Rajasthan, and as much as 10,000 millimeters like in Meghalaya or some of the northeastern states. Now, surface water is available on the surface in the form of, as I told, that the ponds may be there, the reservoirs, either man-made or the naturally made. Tanks may be there. Rivers, which are the main source of the surface water. The annual flow of the Indian rivers is estimated to be 1869 billion cubic meters. But 69 billion cubic meters, or we can say that only 36.9, that is 37, mota mota, if we say that only 37% of the river or the surface water is being available for our use. Okay, the Ganga, Brahmaputra and the Sindhu rivers are the major rivers which are generating 60% of the total surface water in the country. Okay, then we can go up now that what was the background of water resources which was used in earlier days, that is in the very long back, how this water has been managed in the society. Okay, so the old days say people were deprived of water because of different regions. Okay, whether the gender or the race or the ethnicity, religion, birth, caste, language or nationality, disability, age, health status, property, prosperity, tenure, residence, economical and social status, etc. ओके सो हु इज अगर हम ये जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस, ये पहले से ही होता चला आ रहा है. Other factors such as your environmental degradation, climate change, population growth, industrial development and conflicts, forced displacements and other जो है this type of the issues has been raised since long back. As you know that the management of water in the very old days was in the hands of the community or the local society. The management of water was shifted from the community or the society to the bureaucrats or engineers, etc. And then after that, it came to manufacture the water management by the large dams or the lakes, man-made lakes, etc. Okay, so this shifted the management of water from the society to bureaucrats or engineers, and after that it came in the hands of the states or the in the hands of the government, etc. The first act in such a case was established in 1873. There are after that several authorities, several that is bodies have been created to manage, to plan, to means distribution and to control the water, etc. Like your Central Water Commission, CWC. It was established in 1945. Then Central Groundwater, CGWB, Central Groundwater Board. It was established in 1970. National Water Resource Council, it was set up in 1983. Then the Central Groundwater Authority, CGWA, it was constituted under the Environmental Protection Act 1986. So different bodies have been created in different times. So now we can see just an example that the CWC, what is CWC is nothing but the Central Water Commission. This Central Water Commission conducts the awareness program for control and conservation of the water utilization. That is, the resources of water are to be conserved and to control or to manage in such a way that the water resources should function well to fulfill the requirement of the community or the state or government or the society. As you know that this Central Water Commission, amongst other functions, it also functions as the forecasting of flood. Then the appraisal of water resource projects like बड़े-बड़े जो basin dams हैं और some other जो civil big structures है, water resource projects हैं, all that comes under the purview of Central Water Commission in addition to other functions. Okay, now as you know that the water has been considered to be the national resource for the purpose of the development of the society, development of the country, and as you know that the scarcity of the water came into the way of development of our country. As you know that the water scarcity increase due to the increase in the society, that is the population, the economic activities has already been increased. Then due to the frequent droughts occurred during last several decades, and these droughts or population increase or economic activities, that is our the industry development, also utilizes enormous amount of water in the industry activities. So the scarcity of water and other issues rendered this United Nations organization to think over these issues, and as a result a very high level summit was organized in New York from 25th to 27 September 2015, and during this summit all the 193 countries, hello, all the 193 member countries came together in the summit, and it was decided that the 17 sustainable development goals were framed.
Impressed when it will come. I'm doing that only, sir. It's 3 o'clock. I told you 11 o'clock.
Okay. Sir, may I have a request to please mute yourself so that okay, so during that summit, these 17 sustainable development goals were set for all around development of the world, wherein out of these 17 sustainable development goals, the sixth was about the water, that is the clean water and sanitation for all by 2030. It was decided, it was committed by all the member nations that the clean water and sanitation to be arranged by all the countries by 2030. Okay, so the target year has been given to 2030, so that each and every country should be work on this aspect so that clean water and sanitation can be arranged for all the population of each country. Now you can see the sustainable development goals by United Nations and accepted by all the members of the UNO. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, and the sixth one is the clean water and sanitation. Okay, other are you can see here the affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, and the industry, innovation, infrastructure, etc. Then reduced inequalities, sustainable the cities, responsible consumption and production, peace, justice, and strong institutions, life and land, and life below water, that is about the sea and the creatures. Then the partnership of all the countries to develop simultaneously, to develop togetherness. Like that.
Yes, I have added principal MDDTI also.
Now we can see that
You can ask Satish to conduct the program.
billions of people still are lacking in the access to safe drinking water. That is, the safe drinking water is not available to the most of the people of India.
Signature of DR.
about 2.3 billion people live in the water stressed area. Okay, you can understand that only the 26% of water
She has still not
safety
She
जो है
has.
drinking water जिनको safe
Living
drinking
it.
water is not available, and as the
Follow up,
track
she will not
line,
reach 3 o'clock.
129 countries are still not on the track to means generate to develop the the water for all. Now, as you know that on 22nd December 1992, the United Nations declared the 22nd of March each year will be celebrated or observed as the World Water Day every year from 1993, and since then we are observing each year 22nd March as the World Water Day. The aim of this observation is for the necessary concrete activities are to be initiated by all the member countries so that the public may be made aware about the uh, water use, so that the efficient water use may be used. It has been mentioned that each country will participate in the pamphlet generation, the documentary showing the organization of conferences, seminars, round table meetings, etc., so that all the world population should be made aware about the value of the water. And each year different
Planning tree plantation, and we had to get the approval of DRM. So after that, this
themes
chai pani has to be there.
for each year
And
is
what
being
is for this is
observed, and accordingly
can I conduct in the club?
member countries are required to make public aware through the publication or documentaries or the conferences, etc.
Yesterday I spoke to principal.
Similarly, the theme for 2022
Just now I will send the letter also.
observation of this the World Water Day is groundwater, making the invisible visible. Okay, this one is the theme for the 2022 World Water Day observation, so that we are making the people aware about the invisible water which is available underneath the ground. Okay, so now, as you know that the groundwater making the invisible visible, being the vital resource, this groundwater provides half of the drinking water worldwide. Also, the groundwater, as of now, about 60% of the groundwater is being used for the agriculture purpose. And also, this groundwater is being extracted for the industry use. So, invisible groundwater is out of sight and out of mind for most of people. That is why it has been decided that this should be come to the mind of the people so that they can be aware about the invisible water available at the below the
उसके बाद
ground.
चाय पानी कराना है और कुछ अवार्ड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी है स्कूल के बच्चों का
So
कंपटीशन।
you can see that the human activities, increase of population, economic growth, climate variability, etc., increasing the pressure on the groundwater resource, and hence depletion and pollution problems also increasing day by day in the world. Okay, and this theme will be spotlighting on this the visible resource of the groundwater, and enhance the knowledge of the people so that they can means use in a very efficient manner the groundwater. Now you can see the different types of the what is that, you can see pictures or the conferences has been arranged to make the people aware. Okay, now facts as per the United Nations, about 2.3 billion people are living in the water stressed area in the world, and they are living without the safe water at home. As you know that the 1/4 of the primary school have no drinking water services, and pupil that is the students are using either the unprotected sources or they are going to their home thirsty, and more than 800 children under the age of 5 years, they die every year from the diseases linked by water, or water-borne diseases की वजह से about 800 children per day are dying due to the unsafe water consumption. Globally, 80% of the people who have to use unsafe and unprotected water sources are living in the villages. Women and girls are arranging the water from very far areas in those water scarce areas. About 68.5 million people who have been forced to flee, to leave their homes, and they are to go to those areas where they can have the safe water, or in search of the safe water, which is very means problematic situation for all the world. And around 159 million people are collecting their drinking water from the surface water, ponds or lakes, streams, etc. And 4 billion people, nearly 2/3 of the world's population, that is 67% of world's population, experiencing the severe scarcity of the water in the at least 1 month. Now, as the consumption set for drinking, washing, cooking, and maintaining proper hygiene, water required is a minimum of 50 liters per person per day. Our national facts are about that the 18% of the world's population lives in our country. 18% of population is living in our India, that is about 138 crores. And only 4% of world's renewable water resources are available in our country. and only 2.4% of world's land area is covered by India. So you can understand that the 18% population has only 2.4% of world's land area. Hence, we can say that the water scarcity is necessarily being faced. And present scenario of water resources, you can see the which is being managed in India. Concerns thereof, the India is the largest user of groundwater in the world. India is the largest groundwater user. It uses an estimated 230 cubic kilometers of groundwater per year, which is over a 1/4 of the global total. More than 60% of irrigated agriculture in India is dependent on the groundwater. That is, we are using the groundwater for more than 60% of our agriculture. About 85% of drinking water supplies are dependent on the groundwater. Now, in the broader sense, we can say that roughly 80% of India's 1.38 billion residents depend on the groundwater in nutshell. And for to tackle this type of the situation, the National Action Plan on Climate Change was framed, and 8 missions were adopted, in which one was the water mission as well. Okay, the mission, that is the NAPCC's जो water mission की objectives was to conserve the water, minimize the wastages, ensuring that it is more equitable distribution both across and within the states, with an integrated water resource development and management programs. Okay, you can see the here these are the 8 National Action Plan for Climate Change, in which the National Water Mission is also one of the 8 missions. Yes. Hello.
Okay.
Sir, may I have a request to please let me know whether my voice is clearly means audible or no. Hello.
Audible, sir.
Is it audible?
Audible, sir. Audible.
Audible, sir. Audible.
Okay. Thank you. So as of now, it was I think several years back, but as of now it is real picture. Okay, the petrol and the drinking water is means you can buy at the same cost. Now we came to the background of Indian Railway water policy and why it was needed for this. What was the need for this policy? What it rendered to frame the Indian Railway water policy? Why? Because it has been observed that Indian Railway is one of the largest user of the water. So one thing is that the Indian Railway uses the largest water in operation, in station, so many uses. Okay, then lowering of groundwater levels because of extensive extraction of water for agriculture as well as for drinking. Okay, and as we are extracting the enormous water from the ground, that is why the groundwater is lowering down. Then the frequent droughts also rendered this water scarcity. Also the reduced rainfalls in certain regions also created the scarcity of the water in those areas. And because of these, the inadequate water was available at the stations and several areas of the colonies where the water was scarce or the water stressed areas because of low rainfall, several droughts, and the groundwater extensive use. This inadequate water at station and colonies is impacting on our train operations. Okay. Yeah, you can see we are using this type of the use of water which should be avoided. The other background behind the water policy for Indian Railway was the National Green Tribunal, New Delhi, issued the orders in a case on environment pollution which was filed against our Indian Railway. The effluent, issued in the sense that the effluents generated at the stations and depots or sheds should not be allowed to seep into the ground. First, these effluents which has been generated at stations or colonies or the hospitals, sheds, workshops, etc., should first be discharged to effluent treatment plants or STPs and treated water to be recycled for inferior use. Okay, so these the water should be treated and then the treated water should be used for inferior use so that the fresh water should be avoided or should be reduced in use. As you know that behind the water policy by Indian Railway, there was no water consumption details. Also, the water demand was assessed on the basis of the lump sum yardsticks. There was no actual or the how much water is demanded or how much water is being supplied. Only the lump sum basis where the water demand and supply was being available in Indian Railway. So this also rendered the Indian Railway to frame a water policy. Then improper planning for water augmentation. There was no proper planning for the water augmentation. This also rendered or this was also one of the reason that the Indian Railway came with a Indian Railway water policy. Then fresh water is consumed in non-potable use where recycled water can be used. So this also became the cause for the Indian Railway water policy, because in our the cleaning of coaches etc., the fresh water was being used, but and that also was one of the reason.
पर मेरे पास सबको भी भेजना है, इसको मेल करना, ये करके चेंजेस
Also to respect and follow or to apply the Central Groundwater Authority's guidelines for the
हो जाएगी, ये सबको
groundwater
distribute हो जाएगा जैसे, तो
abstraction.
जब किसी को वेट परमिट ले तो
We have to, we compel to follow the instructions, the guidelines set by the Central Groundwater Authority, which has been in the form of a booklet, which was published in November 2015, and that is to be followed in toto by railway. So these and also the rainwater harvesting was to be generated. Then water audits and establishing water recycling plants. The commitment of Indian Railway, Indian government, a commitment was made to improve the water use efficiency by 20%, which was submitted by the Indian government to United Nations Framework Convention Climate Change in October 2015, and this was legally binding commitment for India, and hence this also came one of the reason for Indian Railway water policy, because the Indian government has committed in the United Nations the frame convention climate change, that we will improve the water use efficiency by 20%, and this was the commitment, and to fulfill this we have to work on this. And also the railway board asked zonal railways to reduce the demand for fresh water. So accordingly, for efficient water management and to tackle the scarcity of water coming on the way of our Indian Railway operations, the railway decided to issue the water policy. So all these were the some of the reasons based on which the Indian Railway came out with the water policy. Now, overview of water policy of Indian Railway. The Indian Railway water policy has been formulated with the objective to improve the water use efficiency by effective demand and supply management basis, installing water efficient systems, setting up water recycling plants on the railway land, and hence the following steps have been mentioned in the water policy in a broader sense. We will discuss these on in detail. The upgrading water supply system, introduction of the automotive valves, mandatory provision of solar water heaters, rainwater harvesting, reviving of old water bodies which are available on our Indian lands, Indian railway land particularly. Okay, water recycling plants on by operate on and transfer basis, use of water efficient fittings and water audits, etc. Now, as per the Indian Railway water policy, the water management plan is to be framed, and according to this, we can say that water management plan is to be developed by all the zonal railways, even the workshops, the production units on the DRM level, etc. Then the water consumption for potable and non-potable purposes should also be recognized. The available water resources are to be utilized in an efficient way. The quality of water should be ensured. The treatment methods and targets of water use efficiency should be ensured. The plan for audit of rainwater harvesting systems and their functioning are also required to be ensured. Undertaking of the water audits, the setting up of the water recycling plants, STPs, ETPs, so that the used water or the effluent water which is containing the effluents which should be treated, and after treatment this treated water should be used in inferior use, like your cleaning of our platforms, cleaning of coaches, or using this recycled water for the agriculture or for the plant uh, serving, etc. The plan for water efficient fixtures, this is also to be ensured under the water management plan. Then installation of water meters at the supply and at the consumption levels. Plan to reduce the fresh water demand for unpotable use. The zonal railways to make at least one unit, whether it is the station, workshop, or the other unit, as water positive. Means water positive means the consumed water should be less than the or the used means the water consumed should be recycled and it should be reused. Zonal railway to reduce the demand for fresh water by measuring or quantifying the target every year. Every year it must be targeted that the demand of fresh water is to be reduced either by recycling the used water or by any other means. The action plan to increase the water use efficiency in the water management plan should also be mentioned, and a time frame is to be available. Also, the watering schedule should be made and ensured, that is which day is to supply the water and which day not, like that, as is available nowadays in the big cities like whether it is Delhi or Bombay or the major cities. So zonal railways are to make colony or workshop or shed or station as water positive. Indian Railway to assess work according to water in the area. The action plan should be prepared. In that, the Central Groundwater Authority report may be consulted to assess those areas where this Central Groundwater Authority has mentioned those areas as water stressed areas. So at least in those areas, the Indian Railway to assess the work according to water in those areas. Now, upgrading the water supply system, how the zonal railways and all the production units or workshops are required to upgrade the water supply system. So in this, the information of water consumption, resources and production, how much production and how many, what are the resources and how much consumption of water is being means consumed in particular zonal railway or workshop or production unit. Then the introduction of automatic valves with built-in actuating mechanism. As of now, means prior to that, we were using the manual valves, and for those valves, the certain posts or the man was available to open or close those valves. Okay, so in place of those manual valves, the automatic valves are to be introduced. This has been asked to all the zonal railways. Then use of SCADA based system on the supply of water lines, so that the consumption can be measured. The first priority is coach watering stations, depots and colonies for this type of the automatic valve or SCADA based control systems. These SCADA based control systems are to be set up at the coach watering stations, depots and colonies. So first priority is for these areas. Then mechanism to track levels of reservoirs or tanks. How much water is available, that should be available. That mechanism must be made available to ensure that zonal railways has also been asked through this Indian Railway water policy. Then pressure mechanism in the pipelines. Many times somewhere the water is having with very high pressure, while at other location that is having very low pressure. That is somewhere it is coming with pressure and somewhere it is not being come with proper pressure. So a mechanism is to be set up so that whenever there is high pressure, it must automatically reduce to synchronize to uniformly distribute the pressure, so that everywhere the water should be available at the same pressure. Okay, then the flow meters are also asked to develop to find out how much water per minute is supplying. Then pressure sustaining or reducing valves. These valves are such valves which automatically have the sustainability that on reducing they increases the pressure. On means high pressure, they are automatically reducing the pressure. Okay, so such type of the features are required to be set up so that the water can be means the water supply can be upgraded. You can see the upgrading water supply system. This type of arrangement should be made. Now, phasing out of valve main. A designation of a person, the valve man, was engaged in Indian Railway to open and close of the valve. That is, the time frame was very less for this man. It was usually going to close the valve or open the valve at a particular time. So this was very, very less time for this. So railway has asked these valve men to phase out, and these valve men are to be adjusted against the vacancies available, so that we can reduce the workforce by providing the mechanism in place of the man. Then employing these valve men to the vacant posts. Mandatory provision has also been asked to the zonal railways for solar water heaters. That is, it is required that the each and every building or the shed should have the provision of solar water heater, so that we can reduce the electricity or the light energy. Railway, the zonal railways or production units have asked no building plan to approve without provision of solar water heater. कोई भी building plan should not be approved if there is no provision of the solar water heater. Whenever a very exception case, the provision of electric water heater arrangements may be made only on the exception basis. Wherever where this is not the solar water heaters are not applicable, in those areas, on the exception cases, the provision of electric water heater is also can be arranged. Then the measurement and accounting of water consumption, how much water is consuming So though that water consumption measurement is to be ensured. The application of different water tariffs, for example, for the commercial use of water, for the this our colonies or the staff use, or the you can see the house application. The water supply is required to be paid rationally. The application of differential water tariff is to be taken from different municipal or the local body tariffs. So the municipal or the local body tariffs should be taken, and it should be applicable to our in railway water supply wherever it is required, and the water supply is to be paid rationally. And all zonal railways are to ensure payment of water rationally on the basis of the actual consumption, not the lump sum basis. It must be stopped the lump sum basis, the payment or consumption of water on lump sum basis should be avoided, and it must be ensured that the water consumption on actual basis should be paid rationally. Now we come to the water object means water audit. So what are the audit objectives for water? The reason why it is necessary and what are the objectives? So the objective is to obtain the reasonable assurance that the laws or rules and regulations set by the government or the concerned authority relating to the prevention and control of water pollution are being complied with or not. It is to be ensured. This is the objective of the water audit. The state or central government bodies, regulatory bodies, which are having some guidelines, those are being followed or not. That is to be ensured, and those are complied with. So that is the objective of the audits. One of the objective we can say. Then resources are managed and conserved effectively by optimizing use. So the use of the sources are whether we are making the use of the water resources in a proper way or not, that is also to be ensured in the water audit. Then wastewater is managed in compliance with the laws. The wastewater, as we are aware that the wastewater should not directly be discharged to the ground. It must first be discharged to the STP or ETP, and the treated water should be utilized as per guidelines of the laws, rules and regulations, okay, which are available in practice. Now we come to the need for taking up the water audit. That was the summary of the objectives. Now the water audits to measure and assess the fresh water use. How much fresh water is being used, that is to be assessed. Then the water losses in the system is also to be a part of the water audit. In water audit, the how much water is being used and how much water is lost in the system, that is leakages, etc. Then wastewater generated, reuse and recycle. How much water is being generated, wastewater is being generated, and this wastewater is being treated and recycled for reuse in the inferior means or not. That is also a part of the water audit. Also, the professional water audit is to be undertaken by multidisciplinary team of engineers and the water experts. Okay, so the water quality experts and the engineers which are engaged in the water quality, etc. So those professionals are to be utilized for water audit. Then the water audit is to be carried out by third party. Okay, so these disciplinary, the engineers or the water experts should not be from our railway. They should be from the third party. That is the need for water audit. Also, the in-house expertise are required to be developed by the railways at all the major consumption centers. Okay, the water consumption centers पे जो भी supervisors हैं, those should be expertised in the water audit. So water audit for all establishments of the consuming 5 lakh liters per day is essential. It has been made essential to undertake the water audit for those establishments where the 5 lakh liters or more water per day is being consumed. So for those establishments, it is made necessary that the water audit is to be conducted. To ensure efficiency in conservation of energy by adopting efficient conservation measures. What are the conservation measures by which we can reduce or we can use the water in efficient manner? So those the measures to be adopted. Absence of a comprehensive environment management policy in Indian Railway, which poses a risk of non-compliance with the statutory provisions and orders on environment issued by the different authorities of the Government of India and state government are to be utilized. As you know that the examination of records, what in water audit, what is to be done? That is, the team examines the records which are relating to the guidelines or instructions issued by the Ministry of Railways regarding the policy formulation and issue of directives to zones for implementation. So those records are to be examined by the team who is conducting the water audit. Now, checking of the compliance at the zonal level with the various directives issued by the railway board, then joint inspection at stations and trains with railway officials, that is also to be conducted, obtaining the feedback from the passengers and other stakeholders through survey which are to be conducted at the important stations in mail or express trains, etc., and to check the compliance set by the different legal authorities. Okay, so those the guidelines or the requirements set in the manuals or different specifications are complied with or not. So that is also required to be checked. So entire operations of Indian Railway is, we can divide this into two parts. As far as the audit is concerned, okay, the core activities, which are, what are the core activities? The Indian Railway carrying out the passenger and freight, that is the coach and wagons which carries the load and the passenger. So that is the core activity. And the non-core activities are nothing but the workshops, the sheds where we maintain the wagons or coaches or locomotives and other parts of these, the production units where we are producing the coaches, locos and the wagons. The healthcare facilities to employees, etc., and plan to conduct the pilot study to examine field level conditions as well in the audit planning. Now we have come to the effluent treatment plant. So effluent treatment plant is nothing but where we have to treat the used water from the different assets. As you know that the train maintenance process generates different types of effluents, the oil, antifreezers, cleaning chemicals, etc. These can pollute the environment if these are not being carefully controlled, or if these are not being treated. So railway instructions is being given for the installation of effluent treatment plants at all the major stations. And these ETPs should ensure the effluent from the railway station or siding is being discharged into the municipal sewers after proper treatment or not. That is, the effluent treatment plant must ensure that the used water are being treated properly, and only after treatment this treated water is being discharged into the municipal sewers. Then the quality control of effluent treatment plant water, the monitoring of the ETP is very much essential to assess proper working of the plant. Whether the effluent treatment plant is being properly working or not, it is also mandatory to monitor all these ETPs regularly. And we take the untreated and the treated water samples. These treated and untreated water samples are analyzed regularly by the ETP laboratories. Okay, everywhere we are having the laboratories, whether it is a production unit or the workshop. Okay, so in these laboratory regularly we are conducting the analysis of treated and untreated water. Now, as far as the SPCB or the central, that is the State Pollution Control Board or the Central Pollution Control Board, these the representatives must be involved during the certification and renewal. तो जब भी ऐसा जो एक साल में एक बार होता है at the time of renewal or the first certification, at that time the State Pollution Control Board representative or the Central Pollution Control Board representative should be involved during the collection of samples from the treated and untreated water, and these are to be sent by these the concerned SPCB or CPCB personnel to the concerned NABL accredited laboratory for conducting the analysis, and those results are to be submitted to concerned SPCB or CPCB boards, which is you have valid for about 1 year as their the guidelines. The water conservation. So IR Indian Railway jo adopted a number of best practices regarding the conservation of water and has issued instruction for improving the efficiency of water use by installing of various the automatic coach washing plants, reducing the use of fresh water by way of recycling of water and rainwater harvesting, the pits, the water recycling plants, instructions by Railway Board for providing water recycling plants, especially at the locations where water is scarce. So those areas are to be provided with water recycling plants, and the recycled water must be utilized for the cleaning of the washrooms or for the these station premises, platforms, the coaches, etc. And many of the water recycling plants has now been installed in Indian Railway. For the water recycling plants sanctioned, work is still in progress. We are lagging behind, but because of the pandemic, etc., but the work is in progress, and hundreds of the water recycling plants are installed, but action was not commensurate with the perennial water shortage in the large part of India, and hence the automatic coach wash जो plant है that has been established so that we can use a very less, that is about only 10 to 15% of the water consumption in the automatic coach washing plants as compared to the manual washing plants. So Railway Board has directed that the automatic coach washing plants must be part of all the greenfield and existing coaching depots to optimize the utilization of water. Okay, so those areas where water scarcity is acute, so those areas are first required to establish the automatic coach washing plants. Now we can see that so many of the rainwater harvesting everywhere is mandatorily the part of the अभी तो जॉब का ये पार्ट ये हो गया है कि everywhere the rainwater harvesting is mandatory. Even the new buildings are to be constructed which is having the rooftop rainwater harvesting is mandatory. And the rainwater harvesting has been made mandatory to install at different locations, which also include the railway station, the various zones, and the zone wise you can see. Now it has changed. I think more and more rainwater harvesting has already been installed, but still it is in progress. Yes, so central government, then the Eastern Railway, East Central Railway, East Coast Railway, Northern Railway, etc. is having so many these rainwater harvesting plants. Now railways have decided to install rainwater harvesting wherever feasible from the techno-economic considerations. And intensity of rainfall, level of water table, soil type, salinity of groundwater, etc. on all such existing buildings, including railway stations, having rooftop area of more than 200 square meters. That is, they have also made it mandatory that those buildings which are required to be constructed having the rooftop area more than 200 square meters are necessarily to be only approved if the rainwater harvesting is adopted. Okay, so rainwater harvesting is mandatory for those buildings, etc. And as a nutshell, overall, if we say that we have to means water use efficiency 20% by 2030, we have to improve the water use efficiency by 20% before 2030. That is our aim, and these are nothing but you can see the overall target for the water use efficiency. So this is all about the Indian Railway water policy. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So yes. मैं आपको एक छोटा सा ये और बता दूं कि देखिए Sharing.
जिनकी इंस्टाग्राम पे ना 1 मिलियन फॉलोअर्स हैं, लोग इन्हें फॉलो करते हैं इनके लेविश लाइफस्टाइल के कारण। देखिए 10 मिलियन के पास इतने सारे पैसे आए कहाँ से? जाते हैं पार्टी पे। 10 मिलियन आए उनके फॉलो बॉल पे रेडियम से 10 मिलियन।
So you can see some of the things is as per this RDSO report.
upper class rating group.
Informative, sir, but we cannot keep it in our mind at all the time. So it is better to share this PPT presentation to everyone so that we can go through that whenever we need it.
Yes, definitely. I will share it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I will share it.
Yes, sir. Otherwise, you can share it in the IRIMEE website so that from there we can download it, sir.
Definitely. On IRIMEE website, it is already available. Though I have made some modifications. So the new PPT will be
Just put that photo
shared.
and send it
Pardon?
back.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. We'll download it from there, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
And this impressed you, see here. We have sent letter to Prince. Acha,